By the way, the guy just got knighted.
Yeah, I know.
How cool is that?
That's a huge deal.
Like, well, excuse me. I have a question for the Queen.
Sir Mark Cavendish.
Who makes those decisions? Does the Queen make those decisions?
I thought it was the King, or the King does. The
yeah,
knighting.
the Queen died. The Queen is dead. All right, I got a question for the King. God. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move podcast. Talking about the 2024 Tour de France. This is the preview show where, we're just going to go back. We talked about it when they announced the route last October, but here we are. And a whole lot of things have happened since October. Of course, the route hasn't changed, but there's just been, there's been crashes and we'll talk about it. Also illnesses, COVID reared its head again. So there are updates to what we talked about in October, but this is a real-time preview show. I'm joined by, as always, JB Hager right here. It's fun to be back together, guys. By the way, this, the Zoom thing, it's convenient. I'll get to sit at home but this is way better.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
That didn't count. That was like a soft one. I didn't say George over there and over there in Madrid for the preview show. And of course, we'll be on many of these shows. Johan Brunel. Johan, how are you?
I'm good. Excited to be back together. Sorry, I can't be there, but we'll make it work.
We always do. And as we announced yesterday, a nice little update, fun update for us. We got a few of our shows. Well, 8 of the stages, including today's preview show, will be available on Peacock. Had a lot of questions from folks, especially overseas. Curious if they can access the show like they always have. And the answer to that is yes. I probably should have been a little clearer with that one on the announcement. But look, I was just out walking around, thinking about hitting, making birdies. That's what I was doing. But yes, the show will exist in all the places that it always does. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. But we're super lucky and super excited to have this show on Peacock and 8 of the stages and 8 of what we think are kind of the best, most dynamic stages. So it's going to be a doozy. Before we get into all the action, today's show brought to you by Zwift. Our friends over at Zwift are back, and boy, have they been busy over the winter. I can tell you, because you can't see it if you're watching this, but just outside this little studio, the new bike. I walked in the other day as the studio was being built, and the Zwift bike was in there. It stopped me in my tracks.
It looks amazing.
I'm serious.
Same here.
Like I don't nerd out on bike stuff. I just don't. I stepped in. I was like, okay, they've been busy. Like this is not what I expected. I mean, I haven't gone on, that could be a fun little segment. George and I doing some 40-20s or doing some lactate stuff. See who's truly fitter. But anyways, it's a complete indoor cycling setup. This Zwift Ride was only released this past Wednesday. And for only $1,299, actually it's $1,299.99 is a fraction of the cost of other alternatives. So make sure you head over to Zwift.com to pick yours up ASAP. Again, it's insane. Head on over to Zwift.com, pick yours up ASAP. It's $12.99.99, and it's just a fraction of the cost of all the others. Also today, brought to you by Roka, longtime partner of ours. They just continue to do great stuff. I have a fun story. I don't do nothing without Rokas, right? I ride in Rokas, I chill in Rokas, I walk through airports in Rokas. It's like a thing. I'm a total
read in Rokas.
I read.
He doesn't read.
Well, as a matter of fact, I cannot read without my Rokas. Anyways, we're driving down to the studio today, and I finally looked over at George and
he tried to steal my new Rokas.
Look at the man. Look at the man. He loves opportunities like this.
Those are pretty sweet.
And I said, "Excuse me."
In fact, the whole team tried to steal them.
I said, "What? They didn't send me those."
Nope, you didn't get them, but of course y'all can get them.
Of course, I do not look like that when I wear my Rokas. They're unbelievably lightweight. You will literally forget that you're wearing them, that they're even on your face. They do have the best optics on the market. Here's the other thing. They never slip. I just did that High Rocks thing in New York, and I wore the ones with the transition lenses, and they never slipped off. Like they just grabbed, they're there. You just forget it. It was amazing. The Move listeners get 20% off. Just go to Roka, that's ROKA, Roka.com, and enter the code THEMOVE at checkout. That gets you 20% off. Also today, last one for a second, Caldera Labs. Gentlemen, we all know that first impressions matter. And if you're not taking care of your skin, that's going to be the first thing someone notices. And instantly either thinks you're getting way older than you are, or they just don't care about your appearance. Show them that you do and make a great first impression with Caldera Lab, and take it from no other, there's no better source than this man to my left, who has his 51st birthday tomorrow. And look at the man. Look at the man, right? 51.
51 tomorrow.
51 tomorrow. That's also a shameless plug for all you people to send letters to George. But look at the man. He's a disciple of Caldera Lab.
Yeah, I love it.
It's all about routines, right? We have our routines, whether it's a diet routine, a sleep routine, a fitness routine. Skincare routine should also be a part of it. Just for our audience, we have an exclusive offer. This is their best offer available anywhere. Use the code WEDO at calderalab.com and you get 20% off. That's CALDERALAB.com. Calderalab.com gets you 20% off. Use the code WEDO.
By the way, I thought you said you were going to shave before the show today. What happened?
Well, here's what happened. I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I y'all didn't see it, but I had for me, I had a bit of a beard going.
You got to take a close look too. You might have to zoom in because it's like chunks. It's not really a beard. There's like blotches. I don't know what you call
this
that.
guy can grow a beard in a day. I'll give you a month.
So I was going to shave, but it was so shaggy that I can't shave it with a razor. I had to. I brought out the old Manscaped, and I just probably the same one I used for. That's a little gross, but I just kind of I thin it out a little, and honestly
So you use the same razor that you used to shave your balls for your face right before the show?
Dude,
you didn't actually shave.
We are friends with Manscaped. Do you need another set?
Yeah.
Hold on,
labeled accordingly.
Someone send us some razors, please.
All right. Anyway, so I got done with that, and of course I was in front of the mirror, and I just stopped, and I said, whoa. I said, it happened again. And of course I was alone in the bathroom. Normally there's supposed to be somebody in the bathroom when you say that joke, like it just happened again. Yeah. My wife would be like, wait, what happened? Huh? I just got better looking. So I just left it. I didn't even shave anymore.
I use that one all the time at home.
Listen, don't mess with me. See, that's the other thing, y'all. For these peacock days, I'm going to have to be a little careful.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been told that I cannot, a little bit is okay, but a lot is not good. Right. And I'm talking about bad words. So I'm going to,
behave yourself.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
Now, before we get into everything, we're going to really break down how we think this tour is going to play out. Yeah. We're going to get to that. But if anybody's been listening to the show for a long time, maybe you're a new listener via Peacock, a little bit that you need to know. These two show up to Aspen with this like sibling rivalry every year over who's in better shape. And I'd say that the first few years, George had a bit of an advantage.
Yeah,
right?
Every year.
But then the man over here, Lance, I've been
training.
You've been doing all kinds of training this year.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking this year?
Well, like usual, he takes me out the first day and tries to beat me up when he knows I'm not acclimated. I haven't been riding my mountain bike, and so we did a pretty decent ride today, and
he's on his home trail.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised he's fit, and he's obviously way more fitter than me, gym fitness wise. But we'll see on the bike what happens.
I did,
in the next couple days.
And a little credit, I actually picked George up at the airport yesterday.
Yeah, I know, which was shocking. I feel like there's maybe a new Lance coming. I mean, he's asked me to stay with him for at least a couple days in this first part of the tour, which I've never done. And he picked me up at the airport. I mean, what's happening here? The last interaction I had with him was in Bentonville. I hadn't seen him for a whole year. I'm all excited to see him. I'm like, yo, LA, what's up, man? We're going to go riding at 12. He's like, just landed, not riding. Oh, okay. Well, maybe he's busy. Doesn't want to see me. A few hours later, I'm like, bro, we're going to dinner at 7:00. Looking forward to hanging out. He's like, not going out. I don't eat with the competition. I hadn't seen the guy for 8 months. This was his, our interaction last time. So the fact that I'm actually staying with him and we're hanging, we're chilling, starting off good so far.
Well,
let's talk about the tour.
But just real quick, I did pick him up. I said, send me your flight info, right? And I said, I'll be there to pick you up. And he was like, who is this? He wrote back, who is this? But I was in the gym right here above us, above the studio. And, I was working out sleeveless.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to leave the tank top on to pick up George. Had a nice little pump going.
Yeah, I rolled up in the tank top. I'm like, dang, bro's shredded.
Well, so TBD, JB. To your question, TBD.
All right. All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's talk about the Tour. Of course, we have Johan Bruneel on with us as well, who knows this stuff way better than any of us, certainly, but apparently got some scoops, which everybody likes scoops, us included. But this is an interesting tour. First time ever. It's started in Italy, which I think, and we know, right? It's not abnormal for the Tour to start in other countries, whether it's whatever, all the countries that sort of border France, but first time ever, which is kind of hard to believe, right? If you've gone to all these other countries and with all the rich culture in Italy, the very first time. But it starts, as we discussed in October, it starts with a bang, which is fun and cool and interesting. But when you lay over the fact that the two-time champ Jonas Vingegaard is the biggest question mark of the race, I think this then becomes the story of the first week, the dynamic, demanding first week, and what's going to happen with him. And nobody knows. None of us know. We don't have scoop on that. We have scoop on other things. We don't know, right? So
we've tried. We've got some very modest responses on how he's doing. He's obviously starting the race, which is already a big deal. The dude was in the hospital for how many weeks with a punctured lung. So the fact that he's there at the start with one of the best teams in the world is a great sign. And in this sport, in all sports for that matter, we're judged on adversity. I mean, these guys have come to the Tour the last couple of years. Everything's fine and dandy, best team in the world, and they win. Not that exciting. Let's see. Hopefully, we have a great story here. How did he recover from this incredible crash and injury? And if he gets through this first week, I think anything's on the table. But I'd be shocked if he rolls up at 100%.
I agree. I do agree with that. I want to wait to the end of the show because let's talk about the Tour. Let's talk about some thoughts. But just a couple of internal polls. Obviously, we'll do an internal poll around Mark Cavendish, but I want to do one around Jonas Vingegaard. I'm curious what people think. So, Johan, tell us about. I mean, this first day it stands out so much because it's not short. We should acknowledge that. What did you tell us, Johan? 3,600 meters of total elevation change. So for those who think in feet, I mean, it's what?
Over 10,000.
It's approaching 12,000 feet of total vert. And never straight. If you've ever been to Tuscany, it's very technical, right? The roads are never straight. It just makes the stage that much harder. Johan, give us your thoughts here on these first couple of days.
Yeah, well, I think, it's obviously it's a hard stage, 3,600 meters, 12,000 feet, very abnormal for a Tour de France stage start. And I think the ideal start for a guy like Pogačar to come in all guns blazing and straight away with his team put the herd on the peloton, and especially on what he thinks will be his main rival, Jonas Vingegaard. So I think tomorrow is a challenge for Jonas. He's not been racing since his crash. It's going to be a shock for his body. And although we know that, he's obviously done the training. Listen, if he's at the start, I think he knows that he has a chance if the circumstances are in his favor. There's no guarantee. So he will have to do some, damage control and his team in stage 1 and in stage 4. And after that, we will see how it goes. But it's difficult to pick a potential winner for stage 1, actually, because there's 7 GPMs. Mm-hmm. There's 3 second category climbs. That's already pretty hard for stage 1. So we could also see surprises of maybe some of the favorites. You never know. Somebody who comes in and he's not completely, not completely free, or a little bit blocked or whatever. There's people who deal with that better than others. So we could already tomorrow have some surprises, in my opinion, except a part of Jonas Vingegaard.
Johan, and correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously it's a lot different, but this profile sort of reminds me a little bit of the climbs are longer, but like a Strada Bianca. And I hope we don't see what happened in Strada Bianca this year, where he just rides away and puts a couple minutes on the peel. I doubt it, but I'm wondering if a team like UAE is going to want to try to do something like that, make it super hard from the beginning, try to minimize Jonas' chances of coming back in the latter part of the race. I don't know. What do you think, Johan? What would you do in this situation?
I think the way Pogačar has been riding this year, and apparently we can get into that later, he's better now than in the Giro. The strength of the team. I mean, if you look at the profile, the last 4 climbs, there's 4 climbs in the last 65 kilometers. They're going to go full gas with their team. I mean, it's, we know the roads there, it's turning, it's, windy roads. Then of course, if for him to attack on a Cat 3 climb, that's difficult. That's, he needs to know that this is a 3-week stage race. That's a bit my concern with Pogačar, that he just races every day like a one-day race. But I think he's going to try. They're going to try something for sure.
That would be devastating for the competition, but also for the fans. Like that would, I remember Strade Bianchi like it was yesterday. We don't need that.
Yeah. And we have,
it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm not saying, he's going to do what he's going to do, and it's going to be what's going to be. That would suck.
We got Adam Yates and Joao Almeida, who rode everybody off their wheel in Tour of Switzerland. Not even talking about Juan Ayuso. So the question is, are they going to use these guys, put them on full gas with 70K to go, and perhaps, sort of minimize their overall chances and go all in for Pogačar, make it hard, have him ride away? Who knows? I think it's going to be an incredibly exciting stage for stage 1 tomorrow.
Look, I've been sitting here staring at the profile. I just did some quick math. Johan said that there's 7 classified climbs, right? So what is it? 4 category 3s. And 3 category 2s, just by doing some quick math, is 47 kilometers of climbing, right? So 3,600 meters of total vert. You get it. Like, wow, is it up and down all day? Like rollers? Because you can get there with rollers. 47 kilometers of total climb. And let me just speak from my own perspective. I would have absolutely, I don't care if I was healthy or hadn't been sick or hadn't crashed, I would hate to start the Tour de France like this.
Yeah.
Like this is...
Well, you guys always talk about those first week jitters, day 1 jitters. Just everybody's nervous.
Yes, day 1 jitters, I just remember very vividly. You start off, usually it's a big neutral area, and everybody's just got that nervous energy about them because it's stage 1, and they know they have a very high chance of crashing in Tour de France. We all know the first week's crazy. This stage, in my opinion, minimizes the chance of crashing, but it also, a lot of people are going to go in going, I really hope I got my climbing legs, because we're hitting a big climb already, 20, 30K into the stage. And I got to start firing. I got to start off firing. My legs got to be 100%, or I am going to be off the back pretty quickly in the first stage. You don't want to start like that.
And you guys haven't even brought up Roglic yet.
Well, we haven't, because we're going to focus on a Roglic as we talk about, and we'll just call it the Big Four. And of course, Johan got the graphic behind him, so that's. I think the world agrees that that those are the 4 favorites. There's one favorite. I just caught something though, because a day like this that's so technical, I think is technical with small roads, a lot of twists and turns. I always check the weather. I mean, day like that in the rain, terrible. By the way, no rain. Get a load of this. What's the high temp tomorrow? So it's the first day of the Tour de France. Everybody is nervous, right? It's not going to rain. It's a very demanding day. The high temperature tomorrow, 95 degrees. Ooh. So jump into the fire, my friends.
And they usually start the tour like noon.
Late. They're starting late.
Right,
they're going to start. And again, we isn't that weird? Like we're getting stuck between, Euro measurements and American measurements. Anyways, my thing says 95 degrees for you people that think in Celsius. Gosh, well, Johan, what is that? It's like 33 degrees.
35, 36 degrees.
Yes, 35 degrees, 95 in Fahrenheit. And to your point, George, I mean, stages start at noon. So it's not like, well, we'll get like half the stage where it'll be 70. No. This entire stage is going to be baking. This is the first stage. Dude, I'm out.
Who does that favor? Johan, do you know?
Well, just a little, I checked with some teams, I have my feelers out in the peloton.
Shocker.
So, just to give an example, like a guy like Mathieu van der Poel, his team thinks he has absolutely no chance to win the stage. So, it's there's no high mountains, but a guy like Van der Poel who's in shape, I would have thought, maybe he has a chance, but they say there's no way, it's way too hard. So it's a GC day. And maybe one of the guys who can hang in there and take advantage of the supervision could eventually win. Pogačar is the favorite. We already said that on our outcome show. Roglic, I think, he's fast. I mean, he's one of the fastest amongst the GC guys. And then maybe some opportunists, like a guy who can hang in there and maybe with a late attack, or for example, Alberto Bettiol, who's in great shape, fresh Italian champion, guys like that. But it's difficult.
The Italians, they're going to be they're going to be going nuts.
Yeah, that's going to be a big day. And we've all ridden those roads. I mean, Tirreno Adriatico goes through there every year, so we know the roads quite well. There's like barely any straight roads. It's super twisty, turny, technical, hot, as you said. It's going to be a very interesting
we didn't know
day.
it was going to be hot. We've just discovered that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did, because that's a game changer. I thought I had to look again. Europe doesn't normally get that hot sort of this early in the summer. That's Ms. But enough of stage one, right? We're going to sit back and watch and let it unfold. It's going to be interesting. And, but let's sort of fast forward a little bit, because you don't have to go far, right? You jump straight into stage 4 and you're already in the high mountains, which is another thing that never happens, right? At least in our experience. And not just, big mountains, famous mountains, the Galibier, Sestriere, place we know well. So if Jonas gets through day 1, right, he's automatically thinking, and he's also going to get through day 2, which is no walk in the park. He's thinking about day 4. And then there's this freakish break between stage 4 and 14, where I think if he can get through, let's just imagine he gets through those stages, stage 4, 1 and 4, he might, you can ride into it a little bit. So I'm with, but George, you're going back right quick. That question, I think UAE comes out and they have to put him on the limits.
Johan said it many times, and you guys have too. The days of riding into the Tour or any Grand Tour are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially when it's 95 degrees.
Yeah.
It's just that much harder.
You think about how good Jonas was last year, even at the start, the first stage over the Yaskabel, it was basically Pogačar and Jonas just rode away from everybody. Let's just say he's at 75, 80%. Right now, he could still kind of hang in that first 15, 20 guys without a problem. Maybe not with Pogačar right away, but if it were me, I'd be splitting up the Visma Lisa bike team, where I'd have 3 or 4 guys only with Jonas, and of course you got to have people with Matteo Jorgensen, who's on incredible shape, just got second place in the Dauphiné. Has had an amazing year, won Paris-Nice, and is confident. I've spoken to him; he feels great. I'm hoping that they take care of him a lot this week as well.
He might have a wild card.
Yep.
I can't imagine the Jumbo has to have some guys with a wild card like him.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a minute to learn to say Visma Lisa bike.
Yes, it is.
I know. I'm just saying.
It's like.
But does Visma go in with a backup plan? If Jonas is not there, do they look to protect Jorgensen?
Well, I don't even think it's a backup plan. I think it's the plan.
The plan.
They got to go in protecting Jonas with a couple guys, and also with Jorgensen as well. They have to think about both those guys, because Jorgensen's had an incredible year. He just keeps getting better and better. He's gotten off at altitude camps in Dauphiné, feeling good. He's confident. He needs to be protected by his team, in my opinion.
Oh, but we're going to find out really fast.
Yeah.
We will find out immediately, and the team will be the first.
Well,
to know.
That's the great unique thing about Jorgensen. Also, the guy won a classic this spring. He can float on his own if he needs to. Obviously, he's going to want a little bit of help, but in terms of positioning and handling himself in the peloton, he is an incredibly talented rider in that sense.
Speaking of Jorgensen, and we get a lot of questions about this, so let's just get it out of the way right now. We get. And it's kind of one question leads to the next question. First question is, how many Americans in the Tour de France? Shockingly low, right? If you watch and follow cycling, the Americans are making a resurgence, right? And we all know the names. And then you get to the Tour, and we have 3 American only 3.
Yeah, I think we've gone
Americans.
from 7 in the past to 3 this year.
Yeah, so that to me, I'm surprised, right? Because that's not. I don't think that's indicative of the way the Americans are showing up throughout the calendar year. I really don't. And look, every team picks a Brandon McNulty, really?
Yeah, that was shocking.
He's not on Pogačar's team. I don't know what's behind that, but the kid is is a stud, has a huge future, and but only 3 Americans, which kind of sucks.
And McNulty can time trial too.
McNulty can do a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, he was a incredible teammate for Pogačar over the last couple of years. I'm very sad not to see him in the Tour, but like you said, Lance, 3 Americans, Sean Quinn, Nielsen Powless, and Matteo Jorgensen. Great to have the national champion in the Tour de France. I think it's going to be awesome to see him displaying the jersey proudly. Hopefully he gets into some good breakaways. Nielsen Powless has made it clear that he's going for stage wins, and we know if he's got full fitness,
great rider.
He's coming off of an injury. He's feeling good, and I think he's got a great shot for a stage win. And of course, Matteo Jorgensen, very, very good chance of potentially podium or getting top 5 in the Tour de France.
Look, we only got 3 Americans, right? But we don't have any panic-cooking.
No,
and it's tough after last year where it was the Sepp Kuss show. Yeah. And of course, we were looking forward to him in some Grand Tour effort this year, but he's off.
Just got COVID, and I touched on it at the top of the show. We've had these huge headlines with crashes and serious injuries. Look, folks, this COVID thing is not gone forever, right? Knocked Sepp Kuss out of the Tour. Even I read yesterday, Tadej Pogačar said between the Tour of Italy and the start of this Tour de France, he was tested positive. He had tested positive for COVID. His comments were, it wasn't that bad. It's like a cold. I think he said, this thing's not as serious anymore. He took a day off and then got back on the rollers and sounds like what Johan's going to reveal later, as I always say, and I quote my friend, Jay-Z, all right? Men lie and women lie, but numbers don't, right? So, and we're going to get to Pogačar's numbers, which Johan, I don't know, somehow scammed off somebody, but... and then there's this huge break, right, between these demanding stages, and then it to us, I think, and we're all biased, but then then it's the Mark Cavendish story, right? And Johan, what'd you tell us? Stage 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, which are potentially stages that Mark Cavendish can break this record. Of course, he is tied with Eddie Merckx for all-time stage wins. This, to me, is a huge storyline for the next 3 weeks.
And I can assure you, he doesn't want to wait. He wants to get that out of the way as soon as possible.
Yeah, he needs to get it out of the way.
He needs to. He's feeling good. He did the Tour of Switzerland. He said he felt great there. That was more of a sort of a race training camp for him. Came out feeling confident. Went right back to training, and I know in his voice that he's confident, and I know in his voice that he believes he can win a stage. And when that man believes he can do something, he can do it.
Johan, does he have we all know that it's one thing if somebody feels like they can win a stage, or they feel a certain way in training, or they feel like they've got the power. Does he have the team to I know they upgraded and they made some additions and as they should have, but does he have a lead out train that can get him into a position to even think about winning a stage?
Personally, and I think George is going to disagree with me, but I don't think he has the lead out train to do a lead out in the Tour de France stages. It's a whole different game. We all know the speeds are so high. I think there's only one chance for Cavendish to have a shot. If he has an opportunity, he can follow the wheels, and all of a sudden the road opens up and he has a free road. I mean, George, you've spoken to him and he told you stuff. I mean, from what I've seen this year, I have seen nothing that could give hopes for him to win a stage. Last year, he was close, but to one stage, almost won it, but he already won a stage in the Giro. This year, I think Cav won 2 stages, 2 races, one in South America at the beginning of the season, and then one in the Tour of Turkey or Hungary. Honestly, I mean, I would love to see it, but I don't see it happening, honestly. This is the Tour. And the speeds are super high. The sprinters bring their A game and their A team. And, there's Phillips and there's what's his name? Groenewegen. There's so many really, really fast sprinters. So I can only see it happen if there's a getting together of circumstances and all of a sudden, he gets the road open in front of him. It is. I mean, listen. If there's one guy who can do it, it's him. But
you're kind of like
side to the fence.
Okay, here's my view on this, Johan.
Hang on a second. Can I just say one thing real quick?
Okay, jump in.
That wasn't my question. for Johan. My question was, does he have a team to potentially
Which I wanted
help him?
to touch upon.
He does not.
But I did have a question, and this is what I was saying, going around the horn, just asking all of us individually if we thought that it would happen. This is a huge story. Johan, thank you, jumped the gun on that. So what I heard from Johan was, no, he doesn't think it's going to happen. Now, George, pick up where you were, and then at the end of it all, you give us your answer.
Okay, so I'm going to pick up one on the team front. I mean, he's got Case Bowl, Morikov, and Ballerini. These guys, on paper, maybe a straight up lead out train, maybe not comparable to the likes of Alpecin Phoenix, all the other trains going. But these guys are straight up hustlers when it comes to sprinting, and they know their job, and they know the only thing they need to do. These guys are OG lead out guys. Yeah. I mean, they've won stages on their own. And Cav has handpicked them to be part of this train.
And this is their only objective.
And this is their only objective of the year. And at this stage in Cav's career, he's done everything you can imagine to do. The only thing that matters right now is a Tour de France stage win. All this other stuff, it was fun for him to win in Colombia. It was fun to him to win in Hungary. But
nobody cares.
But point is, for him to do the efforts throughout the season to try to win stages that don't really mean that much to him, take the risk for that matter. He's not going to do it. It's just not. He may want to, but his body's not going to give it to him. When it comes to making history in the sport, in our sport of cycling, in the Tour de France, he's going to go all in for everything he needs to do, and he's handpicked these guys to help him. So I like it. I like his lead out team, and I know what he needs in the lead out, and these guys are in my opinion, going to be able to do it for him.
And he's got Mark Renshaw.
And he's got Mark Renshaw.
And I love that part where Mark Renshaw's just, we all know how they study the courses now, and certainly in the sprints studying, I mean, every little last corner, the degree, I think Renshaw's great at that and great for him. And they have this bond, right? I mean, Cav's not one of these people that just listens to anybody. I think he really listens to Renshaw. So yeah, I mean, I hear a yes. We got one no. We got Debbie Downer over there. Nobody wants to see history broken.
I'm saying yes.
By the way, it's not cycling history. This is sports history.
Yeah, it's
I would argue this isn't even a cycling story. This is a sports story. Johan, no. George says yes. I'm glad.
And just to go back on his team just for a second, like you and I, our connection that we had, what made us great teammates is I knew what you needed to be done before you asked me. If you had to ask me, it was too late. And Cav handpicked these guys because he knows that they know that they will react before Cav's like, hey, get me going here. Like they know where he needs to be and at what point he needs to be there.
You get a little chills here.
That's what makes them great teammates, and he handpicked them.
Okay. Well, if you say it like that, then I already know my answer if you say it like that. Okay, go ahead, JP. What do you think?
I think his instincts will obviously help, all the experience. And I don't think this lead out train is going to do it for him because there's so many fast guys. But I think when he's trying to follow a train, he'll get a little bit of forgiveness because he's a boss.
Okay.
Which I know where you're going to say these are sprinters. They're going to fight. They're going to push him out. But I think he's going to follow. He's going to find it. He's going to fish around and find a wheel. And then you never know when somebody gets boxed on one side and he finds an opening or vice versa. 9 chances, I think he has a chance to get one.
Okay, that wasn't an answer. That has a is that a yes or a no?
That's yes.
Okay, then yes. Okay, good. All right.
Of course, he always has a chance.
I'll pick up a little bit where you were. I don't think he's going to get any respect from the other sprinters or the other teams. I watched part of this Netflix thing, which I thought was much improved over season 1. I will say that. And you saw the dynamic. These guys don't care. I mean, they don't care. They don't want to be a part of that story.
They're killers, much like yourself.
Yeah, they're like, I don't care. Why isn't the old man happy with a tie? Mm-hmm. That's what they're thinking. No, they're not hitting the brakes. They're not letting anybody in. He's not going to get any love there. Having said all that, I'm going to go with, and I don't know if it's my heart talking or my head talking, but I think he does it. I do. And I do. I think. He'll find a way, either with that team, with that dynamic, and even if he does surf the wheels as well as anybody else, even at his advanced age, I think he does it, and I sure hope he does it because that'd be.
The more people say he can't do it, the more fuel to his fire he's going to get because he's one of those types, very much like Lance, where you say you can't do it, it's just going to feed that.
By the way, the guy just got knighted.
Yeah, I know.
How cool is that?
That's a huge deal.
Like, excuse me, I have a question for the Queen.
Sir Mark Cavendish.
Who makes those decisions? Does the Queen make those decisions?
I thought it was the king, or the king does the knighting.
The Queen died. The Queen is dead. All right, I got a question for the King. God, I got to wake up. I got to pay attention. Yeah, Anyways, what took so long?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, though, to call him Sir Mark Cavendish. I've known this kid forever, right?
Yeah.
I remember him running around Las Vegas at Interbike years ago, came back with like 82 shopping bags, like $100,000 of watches. I was like, what do you do? I'm supposed to call that kid Sir Mark Cavendish now?
Yeah, he's come a long way. That's for sure.
Let's do a little business. Today's show also brought to you by Ketone IQ. Big update here. We got the new Ketone IQ in almost like a gel pack. If you couldn't notice, I hammered one of these before the show, right? I was nervous because George was. I wasn't nervous about the show. George driving down said, "I'm really nervous."
I was nervous,
and I said, "Well, I better lift my game today." So I hammered one of these new Ketone IQ gel packs. Pretty handy, and especially handy if you want to throw it in your pocket when you're out riding.
Yep.
You often hear that fasting and exercise are good for the brain. Ketone IQ has changed the game. It delivers clean fuel that can cross the blood-brain barrier, supplying your brain and body sustained energy, focus, and sharpness. They also have a partnership, and we'll see this throughout the tour, with Visma Lisa Bike. There's no jumbo in that team name. A couple weeks in, I'll figure this out. Visma Lisa Bike, they're the exclusive Ketone partner of those guys. Get 30% off your first subscription order, plus a free 6-pack when you use this link, ketone.com/themove. That's ketone.com/themove. That's 30% off plus a free 6-pack. Oh, what kind of 6-pack? Ketone 6-pack, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little confusing. That could be, it might be folks that are like, can I select? Could it be, Shiner Bock? Could it be Coors Light? Something else?
And the new peach with caffeine.
The peach. They have flavored. They have, look, they've come a long ways with the flavor of the ketones. It's gotten a lot better, but now they've got this little hint of fruit in there. It's nice. Last one of the day. Today's show brought to you by AG1. We talk about it all the time. Not just do we talk about it. We're avid users. We're religious, avid users of AG1. I always make fun of myself, which is just true. I just don't. Although the other night at dinner, I did order some broccoli with a pork chop, and I ate it all. I eat my greens, but I'm not great about eating it, so I have found this hack. It's AG1. What I love about it, and this really just trickles down from the top. When the founder invented the formulation, it was all about him taking control of his health. I think that's what this is all about. I live and breathe it every day now, and AG1 is a part of my daily routine. It is thoroughly research-backed. It is foundational nutritional support and supplement. If there's one product that I trust to support my whole body health, it's AG1, and that's why I partnered with them for so long. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/TDF. Well, I mixed it up on me. TDF, Tour de France. drinkag1.com/TDF. Take control of your health and check it out. What else? Johan, what are we missing? I feel like...
Well, I know we need to talk about the time trial, which is a big deal. But before we do that, you said earlier, Big Four. We saw Johan's graphic, Big Four. Do you really feel like there are 4 people on that potential high level?
Well, are you asking me? I'm
asking you.
I have thoughts on this, but Johan's so good at this stuff. But here's my thoughts. I think Tadej Pogačar wins the Tour de France easy. I don't like saying that. I think it's just stacked up perfectly for him. Now, having said that, I'm dying to see how Primož Roglič shows up. There's just something about this guy.
I'm a big Primož fan.
I love this guy. I root for him. Like if I'm just watching the race and he's having a good day, I'm having a good day. If he's having a bad day, I'm like, I don't know why. I don't feel like that with anybody else in these top 4 favorites.
Luck has not gone his way with the Tour de France.
It shifted on him one time real bad, and he never got it back. But he's got a new team, new environment, everything new, right? New bikes,
Red Bull,
new sponsor in Red Bull. A lot of buzz around those Red Bull jerseys. I pulled for him,
and he's got a 5-star team behind him as well, who are very confident in what he can pull off. And Yeah, maybe he won Dauphiné. Maybe he wasn't comparable in terms of numbers with Pogačar, but the man had 3 more weeks to get even fitter. And he can go when he's fit. I mean, we've seen him just crush the competition. So I'd love to see him fight for the win, and I think he will. And we didn't mention in those 4, Bernal, I think, is riding well. Also, maybe not great in Tour of Switzerland, but had 3 weeks to recover. He's backed by a huge, very, very strong team as well with Rodriguez and Pidcock. So we're leaving a lot of guys out, and we have 3 weeks to talk about it, but I think it's going to be a very dynamic, exciting race.
Bernal is not in the top 4. And in fact, there shouldn't even be a top 4.
We'll see.
Remco Evenepoel is not in that. Is not in that discussion, right? This is, and I think he may never be in this discussion of what it takes, and can he win the Tour de France? I wouldn't have said this a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. We're going to learn a lot. Look, I'm always wrong. I'm not. If I'm wrong, I'm not going to cry about it. But if you're asking me right now, I don't think he's in that conversation at all. And I think this is a Slovenian race for now. I'm super worried about Vingegaard.
You say he may never be in that conversation. I mean, he did win the Tour of Spain. He has won some of the biggest monumental races in the sport of cycling on his own solo. Just crushed the competition. He's young. I think he has everything you need to become a Tour de France winner. Who knows if he'll get it this year? Probably not. But I think he's in the fight for the first 5. I think.
No.
Well, I agree with Lance, George. I agree with Lance.
Thank you.
I put the picture of the big 4 because they've always had the big 4. It's the first time this year that they race against each other, but this is about the big 1, in my opinion.
I agree.
And there's 2 guys, Jonas and Primoz, who will fight for the podium. Remco, yes, he did win the Tour of Spain, and he's won World Championships and Liège-Bastogne-Liège, but we have never ever seen him perform in the high mountains against the best guys. So it's his first Tour de France also. So I don't think it would not be realistic to put him at the same level of these guys.
And the Tour de France, we George, you know this better than anybody here. This is the Tour de France. This is not Tour of Spain, and the Tour of Spain is not the Tour de France.
Yep.
And the Tour of Italy is not the Tour de France. Those are great races, and they're 3-week races, and they're hard. Come on, man. They're not the same. Winning the Tour of Spain doesn't get you. No, doesn't get you. It might get you in the conversation because we're obviously having the conversation. There's one guy who might win by 10 minutes, unfortunately for all of us. But look, we've also been those guys. We're like, oh, this is boring. They won again. He's winning by 7 minutes. You know what? Only one guy on our team worried about that. Everybody else is like, look, fuck, we got to go do our job.
We do know one thing. Okay, Pogačar is definitely the outright favorite, but this sport has no mercy on anybody, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. We've seen Pogačar flat. We've seen him crash. In my opinion, the most impressive thing about your 7 victories is that you crashed like 1 time in 7 years in the most dangerous bike race in the entire world. So my point is that the sport's very dangerous. There's a lot of risks. Who knows what can happen? He's got to make it through this week. Yes, on paper, he's probably got the best numbers. He crushed the competition in the Giro, but this is the Tour de France. Everything is on the line for these teams, and everybody's going to take a ton of risks. And hopefully, nothing happens.
And there are a lot more crashes.
There's a lot more crashes.
I mean, my point on Cavendish was that nobody really cares that he's trying to break a record. That's just a respect thing, and every man for himself. That's true for everybody else in the group. That's not just for the sprints. There's just more crashes. Yep. So I feel you there. That'd be a bad way to for him not to win.
Yeah.
But wow, yeah. Johan, you could just in the vein of talking about how big a favorite Tadej Pogačar is. Apparently, you got some intel on just how strong he is now, and compared to the Tour of Italy, which he did win by 10 minutes. Now, not a great field, certainly not the same field that we have here, but he won by a lot. But now you're telling us that he's even stronger than the Tadej Pogačar we saw in Italy?
First of all, that's what he said himself. If you saw his interview, he said, I feel better than ever on the bike. I'm in better shape. Now, just before the show started, I got this message. So this is hot news of somebody who is close to him. So I asked him, I said, do you have any updates in terms of numbers or information? He said, well, you heard his granddad died, so he had to leave the training camp to go to the funeral of his granddad. He got a mild form of COVID-19. Didn't bother him in the slightest. As for the performance, they were 19 days on training camp on Isola 2000, where we have one of the stages. I think it's one of the last stages is over there. And so they did that stage. They do Col de la Bonnette, which is 2,800 meters. But in fact, the Galibier is not the highest. It's the Col de la Bonnette.
Right.
And then finish on Isola dos Mil. They did a mini race there. They simulated, which is scary actually, simulated pace with 3 guys of his team doing 6 watts per kilo, setting the pace. And then Pogačar attacked and dropped Yates and Almeida, took 1 minute 20 on them.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
So in a nutshell, his numbers have improved by between 13 and 15 watts compared to the Giro.
Oh,
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
That's more interesting and even more scary.
That might be a boomstick. That could be a boomstick before the race even started. Dear God.
More scary and more interesting. In the Giro, he was 65.5 kilos. He's now 64 kilos, 1.5 kilo lighter.
All right. So this is how it goes, right? It's power. It's a simple math equation. It is power to weight. He has gained, sounds like 15 watts, and he has lost 1.5 kilos. Those may not sound like a lot when you lay those over each other, and you're coming from a race where, by the way, you won by 10 minutes. You're looking around like,
And he has a couple of teammates putting up bigger numbers than the whole field.
Yeah.
So they're just.
We've seen another thing we've seen in the Tour of Switzerland, for example. Yates and Almeida dominated the race. They beat the leaders of all the other teams. They're now his domestiques. They were putting out numbers which were crazy. Now, another thing that they have improved on at UAE, especially for Pogačar's time trial bike, they took 750 grams of the weight of his former time trial bike.
yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
So that means no bike change for that final time trial, which is
I don't think so.
No, but 750 grams. If you say it to somebody that thinks in pounds, that doesn't sound like a lot. That's close to 2 pounds. That's a lot. That is a massive improvement.
So basically, this guy says he's in the form of his life, and with those numbers, he will win the Tour by 1,000% chance that he wins the Tour.
Wait. The person said that, or Tadej said that?
No, the person.
Okay. 1,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
should we do something
Keep
else?
it excited.
Should we go do something else for 3 weeks?
Cover golf.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about golf. As long as it's not presidents playing golf, I'm happy to talk about golf. In fact, there will be a few days here in the middle of the tour where I will be very distracted with the Open.
Hey, when someone's such a clear favorite, we're going to see a lot of maybe some wild tactical decisions because there's nothing, sometimes there's nothing else you can do but just throw it all on the line. So I think it'll make the racing hopefully more exciting, and we'll see. We just got to wait and see. Tomorrow will be a good indication what's going to happen.
If the entire peloton were to listen to this show, and all of the directors and all the people that make strategic decisions were to listen to this show and hear that this guy said, and we won't name the guy, that says he's 1,000% sure that Tadej Pogačar is going to win the Tour, well, you would.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, screw it. Let's take some flyers here and there.
Yeah.
There's one side note, though, I want to make. We're talking about the double Giro Tour de France. Yeah. So let's not forget, I mean, although we are dealing with a super athlete, super talented number one in the world this is how strong he is. He almost has double points in the UCI ranking than the number 2 in the world. But still, managing Giro and Tour, I'm worried about the last week for him, especially if he races like the Giro. That's why I think the main rival of Tadej Pogacar is called Tadej Pogacar.
Well said.
And I hope they can manage him, and I hope they can ride conservatively because, he doesn't need to win by 10 minutes. He just needs to win the Tour. with that team, I mean, he has the strength of the team. His form is don't do anything stupid. Just go whenever you know that it's worth it. And that's the only reservation I have. Being able to maintain that form for another 3 weeks, especially with the last week being so hard, that's the only question mark. In theory, he should be able to do it, but the Tour always has surprises.
And he's going to be, and he just gets tempted.
Yeah,
Let's stick the numbers on his back.
Point.
And he wants to race, and he's going to get an amazing opportunity right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, well, hey.
Well, we know our 4th of July is next week, but we're going to see some fireworks tomorrow. Stage 1.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wow. I see what you did there.
And before we wrap this up, I would love everyone's thoughts on a last day time trial. That's something that you guys never did in your era.
Nope.
It hasn't been done since '89.
Look, it's a unique. It is everything we've said has been interesting. It's just a unique year. You have obviously the Paris Games, the Olympic Games in Paris. I was just in Paris seeing my son. It is amazing, the energy in Paris. When we talked about this in October and they announced that the tour was finishing in Nice, I said, what is wrong with you? You mean to tell me you can't just roll up in the city? Just set up you just roll in.
It's one day.
And do the circuit and finish. Like it's one day. Mm-hmm. Well, I was just there. And let me tell you something. There ain't no rolling up and just finishing. Oh. Like it is insanity what's going on in Paris and the preparations and the construction and the road closures and setting up venues. I was like, oh, yeah, that wouldn't have worked out too good. Mm-hmm. Like you would have been finishing on the outskirts of Paris, which is lame. Look, Nice was my home forever. It's a beautiful venue. It's a great alternate. I now see, as I said, that it's just not possible. I do think the imagery that we have grown to love from that final day in Paris, we will miss at the Tour de France, but you're going to get at the Olympic Games. I pre-rode, Johan and I both, Johan was on a scooter, but we pre-rode the Olympic circuit. So you're going to get those cool Parisian images, but you're not going to get it in 3 weeks from tomorrow. So we're going to finish in Nice. It's a stunning place. You finish with a final time trial. I've never done that. They haven't done it since 1989 when Greg LeMond won and shocked the world. Straight up, that's exactly what happened.
And since you're dropping your fancy travels, all over Europe, I also pre-rode some of the time trial course in Nice, and it's a hard, technical, uphill, downhill, perhaps some bike changes going on. So the race isn't over until they cross that finish line in Nice.
There's only one difference, right? What seat and letter what row and letter were you on when you flew to France? Because I was in, I had the whole family. I was in I wasn't in, I'm not. It's not a double digit number, but I was in a number with a letter. And you?
That was a nice flight.
You're such a punk. But it'll be awesome, and I suspect it won't matter.
That's the bummer. They were hoping for a close race.
And I don't want to frame it up like that. Like that's if y'all are at home listening or watching, you're like, well, I guess I don't need to tune in. You should tune in. This is the Tour de France. A lot of crazy things can happen, and it might matter. Yeah. So it's one time, right? They're going to be back in Paris and on the Champs-Élysées next year. And it's just unique, I think. And I think Paris is going to show itself, having been there and seen it. I love the country of France. I really, really do. I could live in France. And so to see it, I think they're going to show themselves so well. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to be in Nice, and kind of cool. But
all right, we do encourage you guys to write to us. I love reading your messages. And here's a quick email that came in pre-show. It says, I'm so excited about the tour. I love the Move preview show. The next 3 weeks will be the highlight of the year. And I also love listening to the Move and JB Squared. I have a question for the guys on the preview show. How much of an advantage will it be for Pogačar to not have to deal with the white jersey podium ceremony anymore? And while at it, as a bonus question for Johan, who will be the top white jersey contender this year? That's from Sash in Germany.
Good point, right? It's a great question. And it almost sounds like, was this dude ever, does his passport not change? Like, is he going to be in the white jersey forever? He was just started that young. now he may have to, right after day one, he's going to be there potentially for a yellow jersey, but assuming he's not in that jersey or any other jersey, I think it's a huge advantage. It's a pain in the ass sitting around, wait, it just takes time. You're not, it's
later to eat, later to massage.
Everything's different. Everything's later. Everything's pushed back. I think it's a great, I never thought about that. It's a great call out.
And think about how many days he was in the pink jersey in the Giro. So it's not only the 5-6 hours of the stage of the Giro that he did that perhaps may affect him in later on in the Tour de France. It's everything he had to do around that, surrounding leading the race for so long. But I would say either Ayuso or Rodriguez are my picks for the white jersey.
There you go.
And other news here. Now, you broke the news about some of these shows being featured on Peacock, which is very, very cool. Other big news, we are moving Outcomes, the prediction show, the sports betting show. Very insightful with Johan and Spencer. It's Johan Bernil, Spencer Martin, is going into the same Move feed.
Yep.
Wherever you get the show, it's if you've been listening to it in our member portal, you know what it's all about. If you don't, you're going to get it the same place where you're getting this show, JB Squared, and now Outcomes, which I think you're really going to enjoy. You get those two guys going.
Yeah. And the best part of the show is your disclaimer at the start where you speed it up real fast, where you basically tell people, listen, if you lose your house, don't call us. That's the best part. But Johan, who did, on the note or on the topic of Outcomes, and look, let's just be real. I mean, the sports betting is here and it's here to stay. It just is. You can bet on anything. Including cycling and including the Tour de France. There's all kinds of crazy stuff out there that you can lay odds on. But Johan, who did y'all, and we're talking about tomorrow's stage too, right? So who did you pick? Let's give us a little sneak peek. You and Spencer.
For the stage?
Yes.
I think I picked...
what do you mean? Wait, hang on. What do you mean you think?
Primoz Roglic for the stage and wild card. I had a special wild card for tomorrow. He was plus 3,000, so... it's a Belgian guy called Maxime van Gils. You don't even know who it is.
That's what makes that show so good. You know, you'll pick a favorite and then you'll pick a wild card and explain why. It's
plus
really
3,000. All right, so we can do that math. You make a $10 bet. Who's not going to risk $10 to get a plus 3,000? Do you imagine?
I got to activate my account again.
Let's imagine somebody puts down $100, right? And this Maxime, whatever his name is, comes through and wins. I mean, God, they owe you a fancy dinner if that happens. I mean, what about Spencer? Who did he come up with?
Spencer picked Pogačar for the win, the stage win, and wild card. He had Wout van Aert.
What's Pogačar's odds for tomorrow?
200.
Oh, see, yeah. I don't bet a lot other than on myself on the golf course. That's not worth it.
Don't bet against Pogačar.
No, don't. I mean, plus 200.
Oh, right. Make it worthwhile, which is why they're wild card picks.
And there's probably, I don't know how much I didn't listen to the show yet, but there's a lot of head-to-heads. You can, I mean, every day, it depends, of course, which betting platform you go through, but most of them have these head-to-heads, so you can, and it's super fascinating. Like you'll get a flat field sprint day, where obviously you're trying to bet on the winner of the stage, but they have these head-to-heads. Like they will have Pogačar and Vingegaard, a head-to-head. Like who literally just stays the closest to the front and who crosses the line first. Like they're not trying to. You're just gambling on who can. Anyways, it's interesting.
Well, and I think for those who've not listened to Outcomes, I think it gets incredibly interesting when you get further into a Grand Tour, where there's a day where the GC doesn't contend. Right, they're just going to cruise to the line, and then there's these wild cards out there.
Right. It's the flyers.
Really cool. Yeah.
Okay.
And also La Movida. If you are a fan of that show, you can catch that with Johan and
if you speak Spanish. But small disclaimer, like the other one, JB says, if you lose your house, don't call us. The other one with the La Movida, you got to speak Spanish because it's in Spanish.
With Victor Hugo Pena, your old teammate.
Tiburon. All right.
And messages, sorry, Johan, messages, send them to themove@wedo.team. Go ahead.
What's that?
Victor is on the ground. He is reporting for Colombian TV there, and he gets a lot of inside information, which is always interesting.
A lot of scoops. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Here we go. This is it. We waited, I don't know, how many weeks are there in here? 49 weeks for this day. Actually, no, that's not true. That was the other weird thing about having the Olympics is this had to start basically a week early.
Yeah.
So, folks, you only had to wait 48 weeks. All right? That's the good news. So, look forward to it. Look forward to seeing you all in the morning. Thanks for tuning in.